Hey friends, Kathy Lanzalaco here with part two of my three-part series, Kickstarting Your New Grad Job Search. So listen, the year is closing into the end. We are already knocking on the door of spring here, 2022. And even if you're watching this afterwards, the same rules apply. Is that as that last semester of senior year is upon you, things start becoming more real. The concern is, though, is that the graduation, while it's super exciting and you've been waiting for it and are starting to get senioritis, the expectation is that you get a job if you're not going to grad school, and maybe you are, or maybe you're going on for some other type of further education, which is awesome. But the vast majority of new grads are out there looking for a new job. So in my first part of the series, we talked about just setting the tone. What do you need to do? Have you gotten your resume updated? Thinking about it ahead of time, leaving yourself enough of a runway to make sure that you aren't backing yourself into a corner at the last minute and don't have plans when the summer comes. So go ahead and look at that the first part of the video series if you want to refresh your memory on what was in there. But we did talk about getting your LinkedIn updated, getting to that career center, getting your resume updated as well, and start letting people know that you are actively looking for whatever job it is that you're looking for. So in today's part two of this series, I want to talk about ways to kick off your job search. What specifically can you do? Where to look? And there's a couple of ways to really incorporate into a well-rounded strategy that's going to pay you results. Listen, if you wait for your parents to get you a job, it could take a while and they might be irritated if they have to do it too. And it may not be the job you want, but it'll be the job you take because they got it for you. And that's not necessarily a good position to be in, although certainly your parents may be very helpful in terms of reaching out into their network for help. So don't discount that, but you want to be in the driver's seat as far as choice goes. So you do want to be able to recognize that your parents may have some connections, but let's talk about what you can do to actually make your search one that is accelerated, so it's chugging right along and it's going to yield the best results. So first thing, applying online. Everybody applies online, right? And Gen Z, that's who you are, new grads, you lived online, so you know what this is. We're talking about going through Handshake, which is generally, not all the time, but generally what everybody has at college. And that's where you're hooking up with employers, but also on LinkedIn, also on Indeed.com. And don't forget that every website, every company has their own website and they post their careers. And it usually says careers other than jobs, but it does say that on their website. So if you're thinking about specific companies, and that's a great idea, which we'll talk about in a minute, you definitely want to go to their websites. And sometimes not only can you apply for a job on their website, but if a company that you want to work at does not have a job posted that you want at that point that you're a good match for, a lot of times they allow you to upload your resume so that you can put it into their database. And when a job does become available, then they have your resume and then they can reach out to you. So that's a really good strategy too. But the first thing you're going to do is, I know you're going to apply online, so go ahead and do that. We will talk later on about changing that resume, but I do want to mention it here. You do have to edit your resume just a little bit for every job you apply for. You can't just throw out one size fits all resume. You have to tweak it a little bit so that both the ATS, the applicant tracking software, those keyword searches that happen behind the scenes, as well as the human reader, can really see you matched up for that job. It's going to be very helpful to you is to reach out to recruiters. And I mean recruiters at the companies that you want to work for, but I also mean third-party recruiters. What are third-party recruiters? Third-party recruiters are recruiters that don't work for any particular company. They work for a recruiting firm, and they get hired by companies to find candidates for their open positions. So that means they are out looking for people all the time, mostly on LinkedIn, but they're also doing it through other channels. But again, if you're not on LinkedIn and don't have a great profile, you're not going to get found for those jobs. But recruiters love when people reach out to them with a resume, not just saying, what can you do for me, but understanding what their role is, that their client is the company, but maybe you can help them fill one of those roles. Establish a relationship with the recruiter. talk to them, tell them why you're different, and ask them about what they're looking for. Maybe you're not the person that they need to hire today, but maybe you have a fellow friend that's graduating that could fill one of those roles. Start that conversation. Let them keep your resume on file if they don't have anything that day, but you don't know unless you develop those relationships. And the thing with recruiters is that they have jobs that oftentimes you will never see anywhere else. It's what we call here in the career space the hidden job market, meaning they are out looking for people to fill these jobs that you can't find on LinkedIn and on Indeed. You're not going to know who these companies are. You'll never have access to those jobs unless you reach out and talk to the recruiters. So that's really important. The other thing that I want to tell you is it's more effective really to target companies than target one specific job title. You could wait a long time for that ideal job title to come up on LinkedIn, but really you could probably work for a lot of different companies that need your skills and need the type of work that you do, need to have that done. And the best way to do that is to think about companies and to research companies that align with the kind of work you want to do in the area that you want to do it, and that align with your values and things that are important to you. Why is that important? Because you want to work for a company that thinks like you do, or that you think like them, that you have an alignment, that you understand how they think and they respect you. You really want to make sure that you're working at the right company. Culture is much more important than you think it is. And over time, that will come back to you either positively or negatively if you don't take the time to find a company that's a good fit for you from a culture standpoint. So targeting companies is a great way to do that. And then the final thing I'm going to share with you today is really doing some introspective work. And what I mean by that is really trying to understand what is important to you in that next job. So for instance, what I mean by that is trying to say, these are absolutely things I have to have in my next job. These are things that I don't necessarily have to have, and we can talk about those. We can talk about the salary. Maybe you say, I want something from $50,000 to $60,000. So you're negotiable in there, but you say, look, I know I have student loans, I have a car payment, I've just moved out on my own. I have to have 50,000 or whatever the number is to live. So, you have to decide where that line is. Write that down. If you don't take the time to identify all of those things, you will find that you will forget them, but also they will become less important to you, and you will negotiate away things that are important to you and can make or break your happiness in a job. So I call that the negotiables, non-negotiable list, and I will share that with you as part of the resources within this 3-part series. But really think about what's important. Maybe it's the city you want to work in. Maybe you want to relocate. Maybe you don't. Maybe you have your heart set on a certain city. You decide, it doesn't matter, but write it down and own it. Know what it is for you. So there's a lot of different ways to conduct a search. If you're going to stay just behind the computer screen and only apply online, your job search is going to take you a lot longer. Talking to people, getting that LinkedIn profile updated, clicking that open to work feature, not necessarily open to everybody, although as a new grad, you could do that too if you want, but putting the word out, talking to recruiters, but understanding what's important to you in a job and going out in multiple ways to try to find that is really the best strategy for job search. And the more you start embracing that right now, talking to people and looking in different ways, the quicker the results will come to you, the better results, and you're going to tap into that skill your whole professional life. So this is the end of our part 2 of our 3-part series of Kickstarting Your New Grad Job Search. I will see you back here for part 3. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel too, so that you can always get the new information that we drop. Thanks, job seekers. Look forward to talking to you in part 3.